Alrighty, Chip. Thanks for finding a little time for me.
You're welcome.
Um, yeah, you have some interesting visions in
Yes, we do. Yeah.
your journey and interesting, I would say,
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah, a little bit
Because
different.
talking about your cars, talking about your Bel Air, but especially about Metro, never seen anything like that. I never seen on the road. I never seen even, but it's again, I'm coming back from Europe, so I was familiar with some of the type of the American classic, but
Yeah, but
and
even
American vans, but
but,
Metro.
but even in Europe, must have some sort of service vehicles. They're a lot smaller.
Yeah, maybe, but 61 Metro, like
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. Well, they probably don't keep things that long in Europe.
This too, that's for sure. I mean, that's how everything was built here.
The Metro is unique, just in its styling and shape.
Yes.
Right. There's a lot of service vehicles here in the States, and even vintage stuff such as Grumman made a lot of vehicles. They, called them curb masters back in the day, but they didn't have the same kind of flair that Metro had.
Yes.
That's why they ran that same body for so many years.
Uh-huh.
Right. I think just a quick history is I think they started building them about 1937, the same exact body style till 1965.
Yeah.
So that's a long run. But again, they weren't trying to appeal to a new customer, right? For a family car.
Yes.
This was just a commercial vehicle. So
Okay.
if it functioned, if it worked,
Yes.
why change the
Why
mold,
change
right?
it?
Just keep making them and
Uh-huh.
putting them out there. So as you and I have talked in the past, the whole 61 piece has no real significance to me. That I was
Yes.
desperately searching for a 61. It was more the Metro. So
Yes.
it could have been a 59 or it could have been a 63. It would have looked basically
Just a unique style,
identical.
unique body.
I like the style.
Yeah.
It's very rounded.
But you did little touches there
Yes,
around. I mean,
yes.
the engine and how it runs on the street, on the road, on the highway. It's just this car
yeah.
just flies.
Well, we talk about resto mods. I wouldn't classify it as a resto mod,
Yes.
but some people may, right?
Uh-huh.
Because we took a 61 Metro and put a fuel-injected engine in it, so it's modern, fuel-injected, starts right up, it has good power, runs
Yeah.
clean. Nowadays, there's a lot of components out there that you can buy that are really essentially plug and play. To worry about the electronic side of
Yes.
the management for this fuel injection, but you put that type of stuff in place, and with the right combination, if you will, you find the right recipe.
Which I think you did well.
Yeah, because we wanted a specific look as far as its height,
Yes.
its stance. But I'm also a big believer that I like to get around the country. I want to see some
And that's
things.
what is amazing,
And
because
I
you
want
mentioned
to,
you're doing those road trips.
Yeah, and I want other people to see it.
Yes.
One of the coolest things of driving that thing around is just the smiles that it produces.
Which I experienced a few times, exactly,
Yes.
taking ride with you, and it's just amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah,
There's no one person who won't stop and say even just hi or
Exactly, and I really think, honestly, people that may not even be car people or vintage car
Yeah.
people, it puts a smile on their face.
Yeah.
So what a wonderful thing, right? If
Meaning-
you can, make
Yes.
somebody smile.
meaning
that's
really
great.
the uniqueness of the car, because there's many classics on the road, and definitely
Right.
once a while somebody stops, but with this car, like every single person.
Yeah, and set it up so that it can carry more than two people.
Yeah.
So that way, more people can enjoy the fun.
Nice.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Nice. So you mentioned the height of the car. That's what I was going to ask. I mean, the car you're calling this a slam, has air suspension.
Correct. Yeah. Air
How did
suspension.
you get involved with that?
Just always been I grew up in the car business and always been drawn to automobiles to begin with. But as a kid living on the East Coast, the Northeast, you always tend to look at the trends on the West Coast. And the trends on the West
Okay.
Coast have always been, they don't really build stuff that's lifted and whatnot. I mean, so pretty much everything they build is low. So as a young guy, I was always like, yeah, we need stuff that's on the ground. How
Yes.
low can we make it go? And it's funny, one of my first builds, a buddy of mine was given a hand, and he said, well, what height do you want it? And he had to take off and go get some parts, and so I was working on it while he was gone. And what I realized is if I took the wheels and tires off it entirely, and I
Okay.
set it on the floor. So if you picture that, you take
Yes.
any automobile, take the wheels and tires off, and you set it on the floor. When he came back, I said to him, I figured out the height I want. And he said, oh, great, let's take a look. And he came around the corner, and he just was blown away. He said, well, you can't do that. And I
Yeah.
said, are you kidding me? I said, they've been doing this in California for years. I said, we got to figure out how to do it.
All right.
So if you look at most of my rides, I really gravitate towards stuff being low. I think that as an artist, you look at things a little bit different.
Yes.
And for me, with almost any vehicle, you put it low, it makes the vehicle look a little bit longer.
All right.
You all of a sudden see the shapes a little bit better. You can actually, again, an artist, custom painter, I can do really cool stuff, and sometimes, a good canvas is the roof.
Yes.
Well, if I put this thing low enough, you can see the roof.
Yes.
Of course, when we talk about the Metro, it's a pretty tall vehicle, so we're not seeing the roof with that. But when you put the Metro down and the bumper touches the ground,
Yes.
that draws people in.
It's
That
different
kind of
angle.
freaks them out,
Yeah.
different angle. So, and, again, we talk about the availability of parts today. So if you get that recipe right and you use the right components, you can buy a lot of pieces to make this whole air ride mission and or this height and stance mission pretty easy, really. Yeah. So I just prefer that.
So
look.
you got familiar by yourself exactly then with the entire air suspension.
I really did.
Setup.
I knew that's what I wanted for a look.
Yes.
And my part of the country, there were very few people doing it. So it was you almost had to just dive in and learn as you go. If you look at my air ride cars, they have evolved.
Okay.
But sometimes through that evolution, you come back to some of the basics.
Okay.
So I have some stuff, for instance, the Metro is a very basic air ride system. But the nice thing about basic anything
Yes.
is it functions well. It's
Yes.
durable. We talked about driving that vehicle, many places around this country and tens of thousands of miles. Well, you have to keep in mind if you're going to use a vehicle like that, you really need to have some of those components that are sort of, let's call them bomb-proof, that they're really a solid component. You look at some of my other cars and fancy electronic air ride and e-leveling and those types of things. That's great. However, if you have a problem, then the problem is way bigger than something simplistic.
Okay.
Yeah. It's learning the different pieces, parts.
That's a good approach.
Yeah.
What about your pinstriping? I mean, you're a true artist. I've seen you live few times already. Exactly. One of the was the biggest one for me, and that was the Rockabilly show when you pinstriped this fantastic Buick. I mean, how you got into that, into pinstriping?
That goes a long ways back, Peter. Long ways back. So I would say as a young teen, my dad always had a shop, always had a body shop.
Yes.
And did everything from custom builds to collision repair. But with that said, these shops bring in people all the time to do pinstriping and lettering and maybe airbrush work and all that. So as a young person, I was very drawn to that. So anytime somebody would show up that was a hired outside contractor to come into the shop to do some of this work, I was just very much intrigued and spent most of my time just watching. And I guess the reality is maybe learning at the same time, but just really intrigued by that. So that's probably where the whole thing started for me.
All right.
And then started to pay attention.
How old you were back then?
I would say, when I say young teens, maybe 13 years old.
Nice,
Really.
all right.
Yeah, And then that just drew me to, back then, of course, no internet and that type of stuff, so magazines, and looking at, now all of a sudden I'm not just looking at the cars, but I'm looking at the letter style, or I'm looking at the pinstriping, or how did they do that. And lucky for me, that was really around an era in time in the auto world where there was a lot of custom paint. There was a lot of this kind of mural work with airbrush stuff. So there was a lot of stuff to look at and kind of like just, intrigue a young mind. So through that, as I started, paying attention to those things myself, we had one fellow that came into the shop more regular. And he sort of became a friend of the family, is still a dear friend of mine to this day. And I was fortunate enough to sort of have him, in a roundabout, take me under his wing, / I spent a summer as much as I could with him. When you say apprentice, one of the things I've learned, or I believe, is that what somebody can teach you is they can teach you the right methods, the right materials, and maybe some do's and don'ts. But beyond that, you still got to put in the time.
Definitely.
So that's where the whole passion piece comes, right? So you're similar, right, in that you're an artist in a different realm.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting just the seed.
Yeah, putting the seed. And if you're passionate enough, you'll make it grow.
Yes.
If you're not, well, then it'll just be another thing
add
that's
your
in
vision.
Correct, yeah. So I chuckle now. It's been a long time, really, since I started. And
long journey.
Yeah, long journey. But get to do some really great things now and experience some great people, some really cool cars, and even meeting up with folks like yourself. That you're intrigued by what I do, but I'm also intrigued by what you do, so it's really fun to start to appreciate the arts and that type of stuff. Yeah.
I hear that about your amazing story and journey with vintage motorcycles.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Stories there. I think probably the best way to start that conversation is, motorcycles has been part of my life, and really a major piece in my life. So rode motorcycles and mini bikes and all that type of stuff since really early age, probably 7-8 years old, somewhere in that area. Raced my first ever actual sanctioned event 13-14 years old.
Really? Wow.
So, and boy, it was drawn right to that. It's an adrenaline junkie's vice, if you will.
So you're one of us. You're the adrenaline addict.
Yeah. So just always loved that and passionate about it. But life is gets busy.
Yeah.
And so I've had plenty of peaks and valleys of whether I was racing full time, or I was dabbling with it, or they were parked entirely, and I was trying to raise a family and keep food on the table and those types of things. So as I got a little bit older, I have the opportunity to work on lots of motorcycles. When we talk about the paint side and the pinstriping side, so meet lots of people, work on lots of cool stuff, as we mentioned. That drew me to the vintage motorcycles. And one of the kickoffs for the whole vintage motorcycle thing was the Trog, the Race of Gentlemen.
Race of Gentlemen. I heard about this one.
Yeah,
is there two of them? One Pismo Beach, one New Jersey?
So they tried to expand it to doing 2 a year because they're so popular.
Yes.
So they did a Pismo Beach one, and that was a one and done deal.
One and only.
They really had a struggle with one. Mother Nature struck them.
Okay.
It was very poor weather.
Yeah.
And two is, they were in California, so call it like it is, right?
Okay.
It's a very liberal place. And to have all these oil dripping, gasoline burning antique vehicles and motorcycles on the beach, they had a bit of a struggle, let's say. So anyways, but the one in Jersey, in Wildwood, Jersey, has gone on for many years. It's had a couple of off years.
Yeah.
The off years were the obvious, you know, COVID and those types of things. But that's on again for this year.
Nice.
An amazing event.
Uh-huh.
An amazing event. What a collection of antique automobiles and motorcycles. Yeah, it's probably the most you'll ever see in one place in your entire life. And just a really great group of people. So as we spin back to this question of vintage motorcycle racing, I went to the Trog in 2018.
Yeah.
And as a spectator, I took some buddies. I took some buddies, hot rod buddies, not bike guys, and we went and checked it out, and we all were blown away as we thought we would be. So from there, I was drawn to the vintage motorcycles because, again, my motorcycle passion, my motorcycle history. So I told the guys, I said, next year I'm racing in this thing. And they sort of didn't believe me. And I didn't even own a vintage motorcycle at the time.
Okay.
So I went back, and it was immediate time on task. We need to find one of these things, build one of these things. So I built that first bike from scratch.
Do they have any special rules to attend this, to get involved? Are you applying?
You're applying, and you have to get accepted.
Oh,
so,
really?
They're very specific about the style of the machine and what year it has to be and what engine type and all that. So you have to meet the requirements.
Okay.
I was confident, very confident. I'd call it cocky or swagger. I said, I'm going to get in. A lot of people don't get in, right? Yeah, I'm going to get in.
Okay.
And we did. So 2019, I raced in the Trog.
Wow.
With a 1942 Harley.
Wow.
And, you know, learned a lot. I really did. And I met a lot of great people, but what I also learned that this was a really cool event.
Okay.
But I'm a real adrenaline junkie, and I'm a racer at heart.
Yeah.
And this was kind of more for fun, bragging rights, if you will, drag racing on the sand. So in talking to people, I realized, they flat track race these things around the country. That's what I want to do. So that led me to...
that was the point in your life.
Yes, that led me to, okay, now we need to step up the game.
All right.
And so now, as silly as it sounds, I have, I'm working on, I will have a total of 6 vintage flat track bikes.
Wow.
Here very soon. I have 6 in my possession. 2 of them are in their final stages of completion. And I've raced them all over the country, and just it's a wonderful experience. It's like anything in life, it has its highs and lows, but it teaches you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting stuff.
That's fantastic. What a journey there.
Yeah, very cool. It's just interesting to take a machine of that age and actually compete with it on a regular basis. So
there is some adrenaline, but I believe also risk involved too. I mean, you got to be skilled. You got to keep your body in a fantastic fitness.
Yes, you definitely need to be in shape to do it. And if you're going to run multiple bikes, you really mentally, physically have to be prepared.
And knowing a lot about them too. I mean, to be able to fix all the time and twitch here and there.
It's like a lot of things, right? Surround yourself with like-minded people, and one, you'll learn a lot. 2 is you'll find there's a lot of support out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's really great stuff. Great stuff.
Left, right?
Right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Just one?
Yeah, 2.
2, yeah.
Next one, crank it.
That's some power there. Alrighty, so we push down, pull back to the end.
No, not to the end.
One is
First one's going to be reverse.
reverse,
Then neutral.
neutral.
Then drive.
Okay. Reverse,
That's reverse. Yeah.
neutral,
Neutral.
drive.
Right. There you go. Now you don't let go of it. Take your hand right off this.
Yeah. Wow, first time driving Metro 71.
61.
61, yeah.
You young guys messing around. Gotta figure out that it drives nice.
Wow.
What do you think? How's your first experience?
Experience, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Very top-heavy vehicle. We put really big sway bars in it to help with the roll.
But it feels soft.
Yeah, well,
I think
that's
so.
the air ride.
Nice air ride. pretty comfortable seats.
Yeah, not really that bad.
Yeah.
We've driven it to, you know, 10 hours, 10 plus hours a day sometimes on these big road trips.
Wow.
And it's really not that bad.
Yeah, you can feel the power.
Yeah, it's not crazy responsive.
What's the engine you said you have here?
It's what they call LS
Yes.
powered. So GM makes that LS series. This is actually just a 4.8,
Wow.
which is what they used in a lot of the trucks,
Yeah.
like a Silverado truck, for instance.
Are you driving sometimes with the doors open?
Most often, yeah.
Really?
As long as the weather's good.
Yeah.
If the weather's really inclement, raining, you close the doors, but it's a lot of fun to drive it like this, right?
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
air.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's pretty
And,
fun.
you know, pocket doors, so they slide right into the body.
Pocket doors. Yeah.
Pocket doors, yeah.
What an experience.
It's a lot of fun to drive. One of the worst things of driving it is it gets so much attention. Is that you often feel like you're stuck in traffic. Well, the reason you're stuck in traffic is because people are slowing up to try to take a picture of you or a video of you. Once you realize what's going on, you just gotta kind of roll with it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, thanks for letting me drive. That's spectacular.
Good
experience.
opportunity for you.
Nice.
We like to share. That's
Share
what
the
I always like to
experience.
say about these old cars. Drive them, don't hide them.
Yeah.
Get them out there.
That's a good one.
Get 'em
Yes,
on
I
the
love
road.
this one. 61 Metro.
Peter,
yes.
you finally had the opportunity to drive it.
Appreciate it.
And
That's
now,
fantastic.
Now we need to properly park it, right? 61 Metro is really cool in a lot of facets.
Yeah.
But one of them is just how it looks when it's parked. And that's all part of that simplistic air ride we talked about, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you how simple it is. A couple really simple components to make this rig go up and down. And just really finish it off. It's that cherry on top of that sundae, right?
Oh.
Really quick, down and dirty. It's what they call manual valve. So when we say manual, there's no electronics. We have a gauge on the dash. It's a dual needle gauge. One white hand, one yellow hand, front and rear. So we have front air ride, rear air ride, independent systems. And then they run off from these two levers. A company called Airjacks makes this manual valve. They make one that they call the Touche with two levers, and they make one with four levers, four-play they call it. So the four lever obviously would do individual corners of the vehicle. Right now we've set it up where it does the front and it does the back. I chose to label these handles with the color, front and rear, but it's also color coded. Why did I do that? Is if I'm in a jam and I need somebody to drive my vehicle that has no knowledge of air ride, I can say to them, okay, the colors of the needle match the colors of the handles.
Nice.
And this is about where you need to run the pressures. So how do you figure out what you run for pressures? Trial and error.
Okay.
You drive it a little bit. You know your terrain. You know the roads. You know how it handles, how it feels. After a little bit of experience, you realize that, okay, in a nutshell, roughly, this runs about 120 pounds of air in the front and about 80 pounds in the rear, give or take. So as I air it back up to take off, those are the numbers I'm shooting for.
All right.
But when we park it and we want that really cool factor and we want to blow everybody away, here we are. We made it to our final destination. Manual valve again, so super simple. Is I'm just pushing those two valves down, front and rear comes down. When I'm ready to leave, I'm lifting those two valves up, but I'm lifting them, you know, I'll lift them together initially, but then I may be hitting one or the other to get my required pressure that I want.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna go for that cool factor, okay?
Nice.
And I'm gonna let you do it.
Yes.
So these two little levers right here, simple as putting two fingers on it, push them down and hold it until you don't hear any more air coming out.
All right.
You're gonna feel the ride. I mean, this isn't like your, you know, Ferris wheel, but it is a lot of fun. So watch out for your toes, because keep them inside the vehicle. Let's do it, Peter.
I don't need to have the engine on.
No. Again, it's manual, no electronics.
Yes.
So this is all a mechanical system. So here we go. We're gonna hear that air
Gentle.
rush out.
Gentle.
Hey, all depends what kind of approach you want. If you
Okay.
want to really wow them, you just hammer it down. If you want to just sneak in, well,
Yeah.
then you're just nice and easy, and you'll hear the air bleed off. So you can try it both ways. Just push it just gently, and you'll start hearing the air. Then if you push it a little harder, you'll hear that, whew, it goes down. Okay, yeah, see how we're dropping? Okay. So I prefer to drop both at the same time, just because I think it looks cooler, right? It just comes straight down.
Wow.
Yeah. So see, your gauge is dropping too, right? The pressures are dropping. And we're down. We're out there. We're down. So it's really that simple.
Let me check outside.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you see what I was saying about trimming your toes off.
That's what they're calling slam, huh?
That's what we're calling slam. Yeah.
Amazing. That's really different look which you mentioned.
That's right. It just, you know, hey, it's a great look overall, but once you put it on the ground, it's a whole new thing.